we are pleased to announce...
Greetings, bienvenue, come on in, sit on down.
And now that's good television!
Today we're taking a look at Hazbin Hotel, a show who first aired its pilot on YouTube all the way back in 2019. But it wasn't until 2023 that Amazon Prime Video picked up the show, moved it onto its platform, and in January of 2024, we got the first season of Hazbin Hotel streaming. But that is old news. So why are we talking about that today? Well, because the second season just dropped on Amazon. So while we're only a couple episodes in, we're getting to see tremendous growth of characters, storylines that were started in the previous season that are carrying over into the second. And while I have already done a Hazbin Hotel characters as Pokemon video, there were a couple characters who I left out. Characters who I'm now legally obligated to draw. So without much further ado, let's hop into today's video. Did I do good? Hi, I'm the Thesterninator, but my friends call me Stern. Welcome to the channel. While you're here, don't forget to drop down below, like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff that makes me and YouTube happy, and let's hop right into the video. Let's start off with your favorite evil tech CEO and mine. No, not him, but there probably is some sort of back-end irony to the idea that the villain of this season is a big tech conglomerate and the owner of the streaming service is a big tech conglomerate.
And isn't it ironic?
I don't know, I'm sure that there's something going on there that we shouldn't dig into any further, but yeah, today we're starting with Vox. Vox is a TV-headed demon, and we love him for it. So I went in focusing on a TV as the prime aspect here. While kind of researching and figuring out what I wanted to do with the design, I looked at the idea of poltergeists, ghosts and spirits that haunt and manifest themselves within physical objects. One of the most famous examples of this being the glowing TV from Poltergeist, the movie, you know? So for this, I wanted to really bring in that idea. Also gave us a little bit more boxy of a TV, so we'd have something a little bit more to work with here. Also focusing in on those antennas as being a big part of the design, as we see Wi-Fi and signal motifs throughout Vox's actual body. I wanted that to be in play here. Also allowed us to have these hologram-like eyes and arms, playing into that tech type of feel over the ghost type of vibe. But I also wanted him to have some of that business accent to him, so added a little collar and tie to the design to function as the little wispy ghost tail that you would see in these types of characters. I think one of the most fun aspects that I was able to bring in was using the testing TV type of screen, you know, the multicolored bars that you see when your TV is kind of wigging out. Using that to make this kind of devilish evil grin, while also formatting it as a broken or malfunctioning TV appliance. It was a lot of fun trying to figure out how to incorporate all these little details while adding in some from the knowledge base and not just the physical manifestation of Vox. He died and went to hell, and there's a lot of people who have theories on what and how that happened. One of the biggest ones right now was actually revealed in episode 2, where it was said that he was formerly a cult leader. While he wouldn't put it that way himself, it's pretty out there and pretty straightforward. And I'm curious if maybe one of these TVs that he was using to broadcast his stream or his manifesto to his millions of followers at one point fell on him, crushed him, literally destroyed by his own hubris, wanting a TV so big and heavy that everyone could see it, but also so big and heavy that it could very easily crush a tiny human body beneath it, thus living his life now in hell as a living TV, focused still on presenting his message to millions, going from being a cult leader to a businessman. Again, there's some sort of metaphor there that I'm not gonna dig too far into. I'm sure you will in the comments. So ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for VTV. The name comes from vitality as well as TV, and sounding a lot like the sparks that make when you're flipping through channels, you know, that voot, 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 as you go through that static kind of moving in between the different stations. For the shiny, I went with a gray static color, and yeah, it's an electric ghost. Very much like Rotom, but it's a TV, it's a spirit what more can we do there?
VTV, the media Pokemon. One of 3 mythical Pokemon to their home region of Helva. This Pokemon is capable of intercepting signals and rearranging them to convey information, often different to the initial broadcast. Many have fallen victim to its hijinks, with many claiming the TV told them to do it.
Next up in our Legion of V's is Valentino, who is awful, terrible, a deplorable human being moth thing. In fact, in the Helliverse wiki, it lists him as a major antagonist of Season 1 and a main antagonist of Season 2. So it sounds like there's been kind of this downgrade in his role, which is good and bad. It was a very interesting message to jump into with the idea of kind of indentured servitude and contractual obligation in Season 1 regarding him and Angel Dust, but here he may just be fulfilling more of a lackey type of role. Again, good and bad. It's good because that stuff is terrible, but bad because these are messages that we do need to see in media. People do need to be warned of these specific type of evils. So I don't know, we'll see where it goes. And that's also why it saddens me to say this is one of my favorite designs of the video. There's a complexity to it as well as a simpleness to the design. Something that a lot of people have claimed about Vivzi's work. Vivzi being the person who actually put together the Helliverse, that being Helluva Boss and Hazbin Hotel, saying that some of the designs are a little bit more complicated, but to me it's just kind of an artistic style. The characters are busy because they're meant to be. They are living metaphors for how they died, and while it may not be everyone's cup of tea, there is a certain je ne sais quoi, or I don't know, something I can't explain about it that I really enjoy. And I feel like Valentino really captures that type of feel. My theory on how Valentino came into being what he is that in life maybe he was a pimp type of character or a human trafficker.
I am the Mac Daddy of Heimlich County.
It feels like each character in their Hellborn version is one level lesser than what they were previously. I mean, Vox was a cult leader with millions of followers, and now he runs a successful business. Valentino, I'm wondering if was much worse, and now is led to just kind of being a businessman. An evil one, but a businessman nonetheless, working in an industry that is an industry. So while we look at that and the idea of who he was, we have to wonder how he died. My opinion and my thought is a drug overdose. Thus, he is a moth, flying too close to the light, getting zapped by whatever it is that you're chasing, and thus dying in that way. And also, being a moth, he's very much a creature of the night, nocturnal, much like the different types of verbiage and vernacular used when describing someone of his business persuasion. So when looking at the design, I wanted something that felt tall and lean and gaunt. I really wanted to get all 4 arms into this design and had them kind of positioned in a way where they were closed in on themselves, like a dead bug, but also the kind who could reach out and grab you. And while he is depicted as a moth, I didn't necessarily know where to go with the design outside of going with like a Butterfree or a Mothim type of look, until I found this thing. That's real! That exists in our world! Did you know that? Now you do, and I'm sorry. It's also kind of the perfect go-to for a type of moth that is hell-bound. The idea of using the wings rather than being draped over the body or extended out like we typically do with Pokemon designs kind of shuttered down on his sides, feeling like an overcoat or a trench coat dragging on the ground, but also feeling like these dangerous type of pincer type of appendages. Really interesting, really fun. I really wanted to play with this design because that thing is real and it lives in the world as well as keeping a vacation home in my nightmares. So I wanted to bring that in here, and while looking at the design and looking at the shapes used, I really wanted to incorporate a lot bigger shapes, a lot of aspects to the design that make everything but the body feel bigger. Whereas the body is thin, the arms are thin, the legs are thin, this overcoat, this plume, this wings, this abdomen all make the silhouette look grander. So put those feelers together for Velopterus. The name sounds like voluptuous, but also has some of those sound works from Lepidoptera, the scientific name for most moths. It's terrible, and while you may be thinking, hey Stern, why not bug type? Where bug type? How come bug type no there? I really wanted to jump into the idea of a toxic love, and the idea of poison fairy really felt like it captured that, where this Pokemon would have a lot of fairy type moves that really associate with affection and joy, but also a ton of poison type moves as well.
Velopterus, the lustful Pokemon. One of 3 mythical Pokemon to their home region of Helluva. This Pokemon is capable of causing brief moments of infatuation, followed by a sickly, nauseating feeling. Its fur has been used in creating remedies for limpness and headaches. While it prefers solitude, it also loves being adored by its fans.
Hey, sorry to interrupt, but I was just looking at the statistics, and it turns out that like 70% of you guys are not subscribed. So if you're liking the video so far, or have watched other videos of mine that you really enjoyed, make sure that you subscribe. It does a ton for me, but also hopefully does a ton for you in knowing when these videos drop. I'm currently trying to do 3 videos a week at least. This week is gonna have 4, because I screwed up a little bit and don't have my house in order, but that's neither here nor there. Make sure that you subscribe so you can be aware of whenever those drops happen, and I'll let you get back to the video. Last up of our Vs is Velvet, my little doll. And yes, she is a doll. In fact, as we move into Season 2, it's the first time that we've gotten to see that she actually has posable joints. But that's not the only thing that we've learned about her. As she goes through her different outfits and styles, we've seen a lot of influence of witchy type of wear, and that's gotten a lot of audience members kind of in a tizzy, trying to figure out who exactly she was, hoping and wishing that maybe she had some sort of witchy type of atmosphere about her. It really draws in the idea of a possessed doll. You know, you have Annabelle, who herself is a doll with demonic possession, and you have Chucky, who is a possessed doll. You have Robert, who's the real life possessed doll hanging out in a museum somewhere. And so while we're looking at this character, I wanted to keep that in mind. Make it feel kind of cutesy, but really play into the fashion aspects that make Velvet Velvet. And I'm hoping we did. I actually, when going into this video, my thought on her pigtails was really stuck in my mind. I was like, these are going to be so fun to draw, and I'm hoping that I did them justice, because the way that she is stylized with those swirls to her hair very much gives her a candy type of aesthetic, but as we see throughout the series, no, she is a type of posable doll, which makes us wonder how she might have died. I mean, when thinking of witchy women and dolls, it's not a short leap into voodoo. The idea of creating a doll that whatever happens to the doll happens to the person who it's tied to or associated with. And oftentimes this comes with getting something that belonged to the person and attaching it to the doll, whether that be clothing or hair. So it feels like we have a lot going on here for that type of direction. We have the fashion and clothing aspect, we have the doll type of motif, we have the witchy aesthetic, and maybe all of this goes together. But then one would have to wonder why she hasn't interacted or spoken with Alistair on these types of things. After all, he is voodoo incarnate. He is the idea of that Bayou style Cajun voodoo type of vibe. So it's an interesting thing here, but who knows? We're very, very, very short into Season 2 as of yet, and there's a lot that could happen. Speaking of a lot that could happen, I have not given abilities to any Pokemon in this video. Why? Because I'm terrible at that, but you guys are great. So let me know down in the comments what abilities you think these Pokemon should have. Take, for example, our good friend Deathless3720 over on YouTube, who made a comment about our horror icons as Pokemon video, saying our Pokemon Grimson could have a signature ability called Maddening, where for his first attack, the order in which each Pokemon attacks is randomized. I love that, and it's far better than anything I could have come up with, so I have to say, gracias. So meet Velvet. The name is a play on velvet, as well as Velvet's name, Velvet, and veil, meaning the clothing item or to hide something secretive. It is a normal dark type playing into that doll type of aesthetic, something that looks very normal, very regular, but has a darkness hidden deep behind it. I love the shiny, brings in some of that pinkish vibe that we see on Velvet, depending on the lighting, how her clothing and color tends to change.
Velvet, the style Pokemon. One of 3 mythical Pokemon to their home region of Helluva. This Pokemon is capable of causing mass mayhem, despite its tiny frame. Many small children will find these Pokemon lost in large cities, and take them home believing them just to be misplaced dolls. When dishes are broken and drapes are ripped to shreds, the children are usually blamed, instead of this seemingly harmless, now dressed in drapes, toy.
We have one more Pokemon design to go, but before we get there, I wanted to ask, have you guys ever thought about drawing Fakemon the way that I do, looking at the entirety of the process from beginning to end, and having this in-depth type of conversation on how that works? Well, if you ever have, I suggest you check out the Patreon down below in the description. I recently updated an entire course that goes through the entire process, as well as comes with a Photoshop file for you guys to follow along with that explains each layer and the purpose behind it. I'm hoping that it's useful to you guys, because this is a question that I get not just from new artists, but longtime and existing artists as well. Check that out. I'll let you get right back in because we're about to draw Lute. Okay, so Lute was a fun character to draw. I went looking into some different animals and different characteristics that we could apply to this executioner style character. The first thought that I had was of a barn owl. It's where a lot of ghost stories of spirits and otherworldly beings come from. Farmers going into their barn to find this gaunt white thing with big black eyes staring out at them. Plus, being monochromatic really allows us to play with Lute and the colors associated to the character really well. I went in with this barn owl aesthetic, wanting to bring in kind of the wings that we see Lute having, as well as bringing in some of the different feather type of designs that we see. For example, on Lute's neck, we see this fallen feather type of look, as well as a lot of black and white brought into the design. So an owl felt perfect. Plus, I love drawing owls. They're a fun animal to draw, really simplistic, but there's so much that you can do with them. Plus, with the idea of a horned owl and bringing in some of those aesthetics, we could apply the hair that makes Lute kind of iconic. While the executioners all look fairly similar, Lute is one of the few that we actually see without her helmet. So there's a lot more personality that we can infuse into the design. I decided that I wanted to simplify some of the shapes here. So bringing in the halo I thought would really allow this to look more like Lute, but keeping the beak dark, and rather than doing a full-on beak, doing a shape that alluded to a beak would work. I looked at Rowlet as an example, yeah, another owl, and how the beak is kind of stylized. Doesn't look really like an actual owl, but we still get the same type of idea. So I played in with that type of thought process. The rest was kind of all just patterning after what Lute actually looks like. The wings got a pattern very similar to Lute's actual wings. I brought that into the tail, kind of worked on how I wanted to pattern the body because I didn't want to go a solid gray across that, and kept the face kind of light. Again, Lute herself is a very pale-faced character, so bringing in a lot of those colors, this really felt like a one-to-one. It actually ended up being the easiest translation of all of the designs that we did today. Now, does that mean that there was less effort put in? Absolutely not. In fact, this one probably had just as much effort as simplicity. Whereas the other designs are very easily translatable into something fantastical, that's where we fell with Lute. I didn't want to draw just an owl, I wanted it to feel like a Pokemon, like there was more going on to it, and adding in that halo really did a lot for the design. So while it is easy to translate over Lute's design onto an animal, the fantastical elements are what gave me the biggest cause for pause here. But ultimately, I'm really happy with how it turned out. I just wish that I could have brought in more of that golden arm, but I wanted this to feel very simple. So I decided to kind of apply that type of look to the shiny instead, and found that this looks a lot like Oricorio. And while there are some negatives there, it does mean that it looks very bird-like. I don't know, let me know down in the comments what you think. Did I just end up drawing a new Oricorio, or does this feel like its own Pokemon? I'm curious what you guys think, because I am really happy with this design. In fact, if you want to see more designs like these, you can go to watch the other videos in my different playlists and other Fakemon design based off of other franchises type of stuff, or you can just head to my Ko-fi. Whether you buy stuff or not, I post a lot of my designs over there, specifically ones that I'm pretty proud of, or ones that I don't see myself using in other projects. So feel free to check that out. It's down in the description, and if you find anything you like, let me know! So this is Lahoot. I wanted to keep the name really close to Loot because I just love the sound of that name. It is the execution style Pokemon with the ability to kind of close its wings into almost a guillotine. It's a flying steel type, very much like Corviknight or Skarmory, but I wanted to go with a more offensive take rather than defensive on this one. And while it isn't a part of the trio that we looked at before, I still wanted it to feel like a late game Pokemon that really feels like it could put up a fight against them one-on-one.
Lahoot, the execution Pokemon. When this Pokemon spots its prey, it will close its wings into a guillotine-like vice as it strikes from above. In days past, they were used to hunt down criminals, but since then, they have been exiled into forests and cliffsides to make way for police officers. Reports say, however, that they still carry these imbued instincts to hunt down sinners.
So who was your favorite? Who are you adding onto the team? Let me know down in the comments below. And hey, before you get all the way down there, consider stopping by the description where you can find various opportunities to support the channel. Like these lovely people over here over at our Patreon. These guys have started getting Photoshop files for all the drawings that you see here, as well as high-res images from these videos. Lots of goodies, and on top of that, they're getting these videos early. So lots of fun stuff just for being a supporter over on the Patreon. But if you want more stuff, our YouTube members also get early access to videos, as well as part of conversations that we're going to be in with other creators. I am astounded at the lineup that we have for our Stern Conversations podcast. And these guys are getting to talk about it, getting to see what questions that they want to ask these creators, and getting to see their input inform what's in a video. Again, as well as getting those videos early. So tons of goodies here. If you want more physical merchandise, you can make sure to check out our shop down below. Lots of fun stuff there, especially with the holiday season coming up. Now, if you don't mind, I have a contract that I have to go sign in blood. They didn't say it had to be mine, but they did say it had to be blood. So it sounds like you know where to find me. Bye.